Welcome again, everybody, to our next class. So you're watching Junior Semester of Mirage online program. Today, we're gonna study some vocabulary and also some story, and you will see how this vocabulary are used in context in the story, and you will practice that kind of studying. So before starting our new lesson, I want to just give you a tip for practicing vocabulary. So most of the time, most of the students are trying to memorize the vocabulary, and they are just trying to see and find each vocabulary independently, and then they are trying to memorize that. But while they want to use them and they don't know how to use that, that is the big problem. So we are here to help you, okay? So we show you one another method for memorizing and understanding vocabulary for more time, and how should you use this vocabulary in your speaking and in your writing, okay? So try to practice the vocabulary in a sentence or in a phrase, okay? So when you practice the vocabulary in a phrase or in a sentence or in a context, and then you will understand how should you use this vocabulary in your writing and in your speaking. That's very important, okay? The vocabulary is not only for memorizing, they are for using, and how much you use this vocabulary, you can like prove your English skills. Okay, so we will study today one another, like reading information, or we can call them story by AJ, and then we will practice the vocabulary and more activities. Okay, I will put all the sounds of this story in the Telegram group. I just want you please watch and play this sounds and read this story and see how these vocabularies are used there. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the here. Role of media 2. Role of media 2. So give me 1 second. Shaking. So before starting the reading of that, I just play the reading of this story by AJ. Pay attention how he's going to read that, and then we will go to focus on more vocabulary and other activities, okay? Pay attention that how he is going to read it.
Hello and welcome to the Role of Media 1 lesson. This is the commentary. I'd like to talk a little bit about Noam Chomsky in this commentary. He's the writer of this article. There will be more. This is from a book of his called Media Control by Noam Chomsky. And we'll talk more about the actual issues in future commentaries. But this time I just want to tell you more about Noam Chomsky, the man. Who is he? He's a very, very interesting guy. The Role of Media 2. Early History of Propaganda by Noam Chomsky. Let's begin with the first modern government propaganda. That was by U.S. President Woodrow Wilson's government. Woodrow Wilson was elected president in 1916 on the slogan, "Peace without victory." That was right in the middle of World War I. The population was extremely pacifistic and saw no reason to become involved in a European war. Wilson's government was actually committed to war and had to do something about it. They created a government propaganda commission named the Creel Commission. which succeeded within 6 months in turning a pacifistic population into a hysterical, warmongering population. A population that wanted to destroy everything German, tear the Germans limb from limb, go to war, and save the world. That was a major achievement, and it led to a further achievement. Right at that time, and after the war, the same techniques were used to whip up a hysterical communist Red Scare, which succeeded pretty much in destroying unions and eliminating such dangerous problems as freedom of the press and freedom of political thought. There was very strong support from the media and the business establishment, which, in fact, organized much of this. In general, it was a great success. Among those who participated actively and enthusiastically in Wilson's war were the progressive intellectuals, a circle that took great pride, as you can see from their own writings at the time, in having shown that what they called the more intelligent members of society, themselves, were able to drive a reluctant population into war by terrifying them and eliciting fanaticism. The means used were extensive. For example, there was a lot of fabrication of atrocities by the Germans, Belgian babies with their arms torn off, all sorts of awful things that you still read in history books. Much of it was invented by the British propaganda ministry, whose goal was to, as they put it, direct the thought of most of the world. But most crucially, they wanted to control the thought of the more intelligent members of the United States, who would disseminate the propaganda that they were concocting and convert the pacifistic country to wartime hysteria. That worked. It worked very well, and it taught a lesson. State propaganda, when supported by the educated classes, and when no deviation is permitted from it, can have a big effect. It was a lesson learned by Hitler and many others, and it has been pursued to this day.
Okay, guys, thanks for listening. So this is about role of media too. So we studied another information about this title. And today we're gonna focus more about these kinds of information and vocabulary, okay? So the main purpose for this story and lesson is this, that you will see the different vocabularies and how they are used. They're not only words and vocabulary, there are some phrases here. So you might be able to use these kinds of vocabularies and phrases in your speaking. Okay, let's go. Role of media 2. Once again, I want to read it and then we will pay attention to this vocabulary that are new for you, okay? Let's begin with the first modern government propaganda. That was by US President Woodrow Wilson's government. Woodrow Wilson was elected president in 1916 on the slogan, "Peace without victory." That was right in the middle of the World War I. The population was extremely pacifistic and saw no reason to become involved in a European war. Wilson's government was actually committed to war and had to do something about it. They created a government propaganda commission named the Krill Commission, which succeeded within 6 months in turning a pacifistic population into a hysterical war-mongering population. A population that wanted to destroy everything German, tear the Germans limb from limb, go to war and save the world. That was a major achievement, and it led to a further achievement right at the time and after the war. The same techniques were used to wipe up a hysterical communist Red Scare, which succeeded pretty much in destroying unions and eliminating such dangerous problems as freedom of the press and freedom of political thought. There was very strong support from the media and the business establishment, which in fact organized much of this in general, it was a great success. Among those who participated actively and enthusiastically, so I want to just pause here. So remember, sometimes there is more adverbs like this, enthusiastically, or sometimes there is another adverb like logically. So here we have a and ll-y. Okay. So when you see a ll-y at the end of the word, so remember that this a is silent. We can't pronounce that. Okay, we can't say enthusiastically. You see what? Enthusiastically. Okay, we don't pronounce that vowel. Okay, there's a technique formula for speaking, pronouncing that kind of adverbs. Okay, let's begin again from here. Among those who participated actively and enthusiastically in Wilson's war were progressive intellectuals, a circle that took great pride, as you can see from their own writing at the time, and having shown that what they called the more intelligent members of society themselves were able to drive a reluctant population into a war by terrifying them and eliciting fanaticism. The means used were extensive. For example, there was a lot of fabrication of atrocities by the Germans. Belgians' babies with their arms torn off, all sorts of awful things that you still read in history books. Much of it was invented by the British propaganda ministry, whose goal was to, as they put it, direct the thought of most of the world. But most crucially, they wanted to control the thought of the more intelligent members of the United States, who would disseminate the propaganda that they were concocting and convert the pacifistic country to wartime hysteria. That worked. It worked very well, and it taught a lesson. State propaganda, when supported by the educated classes, and when no deviation is permitted from it, can have a big effect. It was a lesson learned by Hitler and many others, and it has been pursued to this day. Okay? So in this story or information, we have lots of important vocabulary. So if you could just see the vocabulary here, so the important vocabulary or new one are bold here, like propaganda, slogan, pacifistic, committed to, commission, interning, population, hysterical, warmongering, and also tear the Germans, limb from limb. So we have this vocabulary. You can read this information in your book also, but I want you guys to practice the reading of this information first. So while you are trying to read it, record your voice, and then once you finish, play your voice and check how you read this. And then you can compare your reading with AJ reading and see how much is the differences between them and how you pronounce the vocabularies and how he pronounced the vocabularies, okay? And then compare it, see the differences, and try to pronounce the way AJ pronounced them, okay? The way that the sounds pronounce it, okay? And then try to make your pronunciation as much close to that speaking or audio that is possible, okay? I mean, practice a lot till the time you both pronounce the same thing, okay? And then there is vocabularies here. So the vocabulary of this information here in the left hand. I just wanna bring it for you. Yes, here. I just want to read the vocabularies for you also, and then And once focused, we will translate it again, details in the next lesson. But today you have to be able to see these vocabularies and ask lots of questions about these vocabularies. And you'll practice more in the next lesson also about that. Okay, propaganda. Propaganda is a noun, and it means government lies. So in every country, they might make some propaganda to utilize from that propaganda for their own purpose and aim. Slogan. Slogan is noun. It means saying or a repeated phrase. So, for example, every candidate that want to be elected by the people, they just have some slogans and saying like, "We want peace. We want something." Slogan means something that every single political party repeat that for people to attract their votes. Okay? That's called slogan. Pacifistic, that is adjective, it means peaceful or anti-war. And committed to, it is adjective, it means dedicated to, really wanted, really wanting. For example, you are committed to speak English every time. Okay? It means you are dedicated to speak English every time. Commission, it is noun, it means group or committee. So like election commission, okay? And turning means changing, converting. Population, you might know that it is noun, it means society. For example, we are talking about Afghanistan population that is almost 38 million something. And historical, remember it is not historical, it is history, hysteria, hysterical. It means crazy, super emotional. For example, sometimes some political people, politics are trying to make people hysterical and then use their emotions for their own purposes, okay? Warmongering, it is adjective, it means war loving or war wanting, loving war. When people are like wanting to fight, to go to war, so that situation is called warmongering. Tear the Germans limb from limb, it is idioms, it is not verb, and it's not adjective, it means attack and kill them. So, for example, when a person said the government should tear the Taliban limb from limb, it means they should kill them. Okay? It means they should vanish them and finish them. Achievement, it is noun, it means it is accomplishment or success. Okay? To wipe up means to create or increase. To create or increase. Hysterical, we read it here also hysterical. Here is also another one hysterical. It means emotional, super emotional. Red, it means communist. Communist is a name of ideology. Pretty much is also idiom. It means mostly. Pretty much it is used usually in a common speaking also. Pretty much better. For example, someone say, "How is it now?" It's pretty much better. It means it's very good, mostly. It's like unions, it is easy. Workers groups, when a group of people came in unity and they agree in the same thing, so they make unions. The media is a big name for newspapers, radio, TV, social media, and everything. Establishment, most powerful group. Okay? Establishment, establish is creating something, and here establishment is noun form. It means, but here it means most powerful group. Enthusiastically it means happily, with excitement. So when you are reading some information enthusiastically, so everybody will enjoy from that. So whenever you are enthusiastic to something, then you will do that enthusiastically. Okay? and it means you're so excited about doing that. Progressive, it is adjective, it means liberal. Okay? Circle, it is noun, it means group. We say a circle of people, we mean that the group of people. Took great pride. Took great pride, it means felt proud. So it is the past form of feeling proud. Okay, feel proud. In this phrase they use took great pride. For example, I say that one of my students became a good professor. For example, I say, oh, when I hear that news, I took great pride. It means I felt proud. Okay. To drive, it means to force, to push. Some people are trying to drive the people in a wrong way. Okay? It means to push people in a wrong way. Reluctant, it is hesitant, not really wanting to do something. So you don't know, should you do that or you shouldn't? You are not sure about that, so you are hesitant. So you can use the reluctant word for that also. Eliciting means bring out or cause. Okay, that's easy. Fanaticism means crazy or total belief. Total belief. So you are crazy about doing something. It means you are total belief. You are so sure and you think you have to do that. Then we use this word. Extensive, this noun. Extensive is adjective. It means through or broad. It means you're doing something extensive, one way or through a way. Fabrication, it means lying or creating. And creating something that's false, yeah, lying. So when something is not true, but some other people are trying to make it true or make people believe that is true, then we can use that word. Atrocities, it is horrible acts or torture or murder. It is torture and murder, and it means when you kill people, you punish people some way, you hurt people, it's called torture and murder or atrocities. Put it means say or said or communicated. Okay, in this context here. There's more word. Crucially is adverb. It means importantly, disseminate, it is spread or communicate. Too many people, spread or communicate. So you have something sacred and you want to disseminate with more people, so you spread it with more people. Concoction, it means creating. Convert, it means change. It's easy. Hysteria, we read before also, powerful emotion or strong emotion. And then state, it is adjective. It means garment. And deviation, it means change from or variation. Deviation means variation, differences. Okay, so it was today's lesson. Hopefully you practice this vocabulary, read this, the synonyms of this vocabulary also, and I want from you first, you try the translation of this story and write it, and see if you face any problem, you just can ask me, and we will try to, if you have any question, actually we'll answer your question and we'll practice the meaning of them and translating them in next class. Thanks for participation. Thanks for watching this movie. This class. See you guys in the next class. Have a good day.